The grant is $75. You just buy some land and then buy some oyster seeds and some cages, and now we're oyster farming.
We're in Massachusetts. This is actually our second day here, and right now we're in Boston.
We've got some friends we're visiting here, my buddies from high school, so they're acting as tour guide today and taking us all around.
We're at the Science Museum, walking around here in Boston. I think we might be in Cambridge right now. And the Science Museum seems to be designed for children, so it's perfect for us. There's a lot of interactive stuff.
You can touch everything. Everything's touchable. Usually in museums, you gotta keep your hands in your pocket because you can't touch anything. Here, you can touch whatever you want.
We just finished up at the museum. It was super cool, 3 levels. We saw this little electricity show that was loud and bright. Learned a lot, I guess. And now we're waiting on our buddy from St. Thomas. I think he's gonna scoop us up and we're gonna go maybe get dinner or something.
Yeah, look at some more history stuff, get some food, and catch up with them. It's been a while since we've seen them, so it'll be great to hang out with my friend from St. Thomas.
So now that we're done with Boston, where are we today?
We are heading to Cape Cod, and we stopped in Plymouth, Massachusetts. You know what that means. Plymouth Rock is right around the corner. I can see it from here. I'm so excited. I've been looking forward to seeing Plymouth Rock for, 2-3 years now since Joey told me about it. So it's an important part of history, and I'm excited to take a look and experience all that Plymouth Rock has to offer.
An even more exciting, maybe not more exciting, but an exciting thing also, Evan's phone just pinged. And who was it?
Yes, I texted, while Joey was working in the car very diligently. It's Sunday, so I'm not working. So what I did was I texted, emailed, and called every single oyster farm across all of Cape Cod, and between Boston and Cape Cod. And some guy just texted back, and so that we could pick up oysters from his garage or farm or somewhere.
Poor Evan's behind me right there. He's been scrutinizing this info board for 5 or 10 minutes now, trying to make sense of the fact that Plymouth Rock is just a rock, that there's like no actual historical, references to this rock at all. It's kind of just a made up symbol. So he's having a little bit of a reckoning with that over there.
I don't know what's going on. I was standing in front of the little information placard thing for a long time, reading the story over and over again, and I still have no idea what the hell is going on with this thing. So it was...
They landed here in 1620,
and then
this rock didn't come about until 120 years later.
Some dude in 1744 said, "This is the rock." It's 144 years later. Imagine going back now and saying that, oh yeah, and 150 years ago, this was the spot. And then they would apparently chisel off little pieces of the rock just to give to people as souvenirs. So the thing used to be bigger, and then they built a whole structure over it. But it's not that structure that's there now. There's a previous structure that was there. In order to build that structure, they had to cut off a whole bunch of the rock so it could fit in the structure that they were building around it. Why don't they just build the structure a little bigger or move the structure a little bit to fit? How much bigger was this rock? I don't know.
Evan was so distraught about learning from that kiosk about Plymouth Rock that we are now doing a walking tour with a guide so that he can ask all of his questions and put his worries to rest.
It's just us on the tour, just us and the guide. Perfect.
So when the pilgrims come, there's farmland, there's a brook, there's a nice harbor. There's a number of reasons why they would have chosen this area. But I always think if they didn't find the fresh water, they would have kept on exploring. They needed the fresh water.
We just finished up our walking tour with Henry. Evan is still a little skeptical of some things, but we asked Henry a lot of questions. He gave us some pretty good answers. And the funniest part is that he kept saying that at one point the rock was moved using a cot. And so both of us are sitting there thinking like, okay, like a soft mattress because they didn't want to crack the rock, so a cot makes sense. And until it took us several sentences of him saying this cot was used before we realized he was saying cart, like ox were pulling this cart. So funny little Bostonian accent going on there.
Good Boston accent.
Yeah.
That was nice. Well, I wanted to hear a good Boston accent while we were here, and this definitely scratched that itch.
We just had some lunch and now we are pulling into some neighborhood. Evan's gonna meet a guy for some oysters. We just left the oyster man's house. As we were pulling away, he like followed us down the road and stopped us before we were gone. And he was like, you have to keep these things super cold, you know? We were like, yeah, we plan to eat them within the next 10 or 15 minutes. So he said that was fine. So that's what we're doing. We just pulled off at this little park because we needed a table. The table inside the van was not gonna work for this operation. So Evan was too eager to get into these that we didn't stop to get an oyster knife anywhere. He's just using a screwdriver and his multi-tool. So we're gonna go check on him. How's everyone doing?
Doing great.
Try it.
This one's for you. You want it?
You have it. I'm excited to see how it is.
They're really good. That little technique. You know how the seagulls will fly up this guy and drop them to crack them? This is what I do.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah. Just crack the edge a little bit. Crack the edge in the picnic table. Just enough to get a little screwdriver in there. Oh yeah, there we go. Slip the Phillips the flathead screwdriver right in the little crack.
Whoa, I didn't expect that to work.
Kind of mangled this one a little bit. This one's a little mangled. There we go.
All right, Evan still has all 10 of his fingers. He's enjoying the oysters. I had one of them. I know we usually say most of the food we have is good. I was not crazy about that oyster. It was very, very salty. Evan said that some of them have like a nice sweet finish. This one didn't. It was just tastes like Panama City Beach when I was a kid. But he's having a great time. So I'm gonna get the water hose ready for him for when he comes back here so that we don't make the whole van smell like oysters. We just got to our harvest host for the night. This guy is super nice and he offered us water and electric, which most hosts don't offer and usually it costs extra and stuff. So that was neat. We just like backed right up to his house, and so we're gonna fill up water before we leave here. But the coolest thing that he offered us is access to his outdoor shower. Evan is all about it, so I think he might go out into the cold and check that out later. But for now, he's making a sandwich in the front seat, and we're gonna call it a night. Good morning. We left our sleep spot and got the van all packed up. It was quite a feat because the bed had been out for a few days while we were traveling and away from the van. But back looks great. Thank you, Evan. And our first stop this morning was Duncan. Evan has an interesting oyster venture that he's headed to right now. I am opting out of this activity, but Evan, you want to tell him about it?
Yeah, it's this guy who owns this little family-run oyster farm, and I reached out to him asking to see his farm and see if we could try some oysters. And he said, come along, and I'm harvesting oysters. I got some extra waders, and you could watch how the farm works and grab some oysters, hopefully. So I'm gonna head over there, and he said it's like a mile wade out, like 50 degrees out, It's sunny at least. It's not gonna rain or anything. It's not too windy. But I'm gonna bundle up and see what oyster farming is all about.
That weather that he just mentioned is the reason why I'm opting out of this. The thought of being cold and wet for, like, we're gonna be at the mercy of this guy. So I don't know, that doesn't sound good. So I'm gonna hang out in the van and do some work, and Evan will hopefully come back with a full belly and not be hypothermic. Wrapping up our oyster farming experience. Incredible. What do you think?
Got a whole bunch of oysters. Picked them. They showed us size. We like select. Find the deep tough ones. So it's kind of how their farm works. It's all tidal. I mean, tide goes out. Come out here and put some oysters. Tide comes back in. Submerge them.
And if you know Evan, he's very anti-tides. So did this change your tune?
This changed my tune on tides a good deal. It's pretty important. If without tides, we wouldn't have these good tasty oysters. So, I get it.
Evan's trying to now talk me into being an oyster farmer.
I think we do just the grant for $75. You just buy some land and buy some oyster seeds and some cages, and now we're oyster farming.
That really was a lot of fun. I obviously changed my tune from not wanting to go. We went into their house and they were kind of explaining what it was going to be. On their email to us, I thought it was going to be just like a 4-hour cold wet experience and not fun. But when they explained it, they were like, no, it's going to be pretty short, and if you get too cold or whatever, we can just walk you back in. So I ended up staying out there the whole time. The wife was there too, and we talked a lot. We had a lot in common. Really wonderful people. So now we are on to, actually, the name of this place, Mill Creek Oysters, and they're in Cape Cod. So we are on to...
If you see them in a restaurant, they're fantastic. The guy said that they've never lost a taste test competition. Every one they've ever entered, they won. And I get why. They're delicious.
The oysters we had yesterday, like we said, were so unappetizingly salty. I don't know how you ate 11 of them. I ate one and that was enough. So they still had plenty of brine, but they also had like oyster flavor and sweetness, and these were much better. So we've got a dozen of them. We need to crack them open because they are not on ice. We've got a fridge full of oysters, and we are headed to our harvest toast for the night. We spent the afternoon, Evan was working a bunch, I was doing a little bit of work in the back, and then we did some shopping. The weather has changed and we are just ill-equipped for this. So we went and picked up some warmer clothes so that we're not just like patching ourselves by. And I think when we go to your family's house next, we'll drop off our clothes that we no longer need, that are out of season, and we'll be all set. We are wrapping up our final night in Massachusetts. We wanted to tell you our favorite parts. What was yours?
I like seeing all my friends. It was cool seeing my friends again. My old buddies back from middle school, elementary school, like way back. And our friend from St. Thomas too is also in Boston. And it was cool having them show us around the city. It's nice to know people around. They could take you to the good spots and tell you where to go. It was fun.
Yeah, they were great tour guides. Thank you guys for taking us around. I think my favorite part, even though I was almost gonna not go, I think my favorite part was wading around in those oyster beds this morning. That was amazing. And the people who took us couldn't have been sweeter. They explained everything to us and let us size the oysters with them. So yeah, even though I didn't expect to go, I think that was my favorite part. Thanks, Massachusetts.